Welcome to the LifeStages Development Podcast, where host and owner of LifeStages Development, Steve Schamberger, brings you stories, experiences, and advice in business development and marketing. Now here's Steve with today's episode.
Hi, I'm Steve Schamberger with the LifeStages Development Podcast. Here we're with Phil Eby. Phil, kind of give us an idea of your job title, your background, and your job responsibilities.
Sure. Well, hi, Steve. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here and really have been benefited from the work of LifeStages and your work. So it's my pleasure to be here with you today. I am the Director of Business Development at Ames Construction, Inc. in Ephrata. We're a commercial construction company. Been doing that now for just about 4 years. Prior to that, I owned a small business called Eby Exteriors, higher-end exterior remodeler, replacement company. Ames bought my business. I chose to sell a little over 4 years ago, not knowing who was going to buy it. Ames ended up buying it. You wouldn't know it if you didn't know it. The business has remained primarily the same Eby Exteriors has, but they brought me into Ames as Director of Business Development. One nice thing is I still get to stay connected to my team at Eby Exteriors. I lead the marketing for there, and so I'm very connected in that way. It's been good.
And just a little bit further kind of information and background on Ames. So you oversee Ames Construction, Ames Mechanical, and Eby Exteriors.
Correct. The marketing, business development side of things.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't really oversee anything.
The business development.
No, correct. But and Ames Mechanical actually, I helped to create that name and that logo. We've done our own plumbing and HVAC for most of Ames. Next year is celebrating our 50th year. And most of that time we've done HVAC and plumbing, but it never had its own identity. And I helped create that. I think it's been been good.
No, absolutely. You mentioned coming in about 4 years ago. LifeStages and myself had just started a little bit before that. And you've been a tremendous asset because, just working with you, they didn't have anyone in that position. So for them to have someone, I think you've kind of seen, I saw a little bit of what they were doing before, which wasn't very much, to now. You have 3 brands that you're growing and building, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, good. Well, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of give a little bit of a background. What does a day-to-day look like as the business development director of those 3 brands, but company?
Yeah, well, one of the things, as I was thinking about sharing this with you, is I don't, every day is different. I mean, I just don't have a typical day. There's so many things. Part of that is because there's so many things on my plate. And I'm not complaining. It's great. I like having variety. I like having a lot going on. One day I might spend a whole day in my office, doing researching companies, trying to find opportunities to go after, or filling out for AIA 305 forms, which are company qualification forms that we need to do typically for larger companies, which is varied job, and I love that.
I think I agree. I think what I do at LifeStages is similar, but I don't think I could do the same thing every day. It becomes too stagnant. And I love the every day is different. Every kind of opportunity is different, and that kind of keeps things fresh for me. It keeps me kind of energized and excited.
No, some people they like that routine, and that's great, and it's not for me either.
Copy and paste, can't do it.
No.
How would you define business development?
Business development it means different things. I've learned at different companies. It can mean a lot of different things. There's really a whole list of things that business development people do, and some with more focus on others. But it's interesting, a couple weeks ago, I had a chance to speak at Ephrata Intermediate School to 5th graders, and it was 9 separate 5th grade classes, and I stayed in one room and they brought these classes through. It was a cornerstone project they were doing about planning their career or thinking about what jobs might be in the future, and so they had a bunch of people in explaining what they do. And so how do you explain that to a group of 5th graders? But it's interesting because most adults, if I go out and find 100 adults in the street and ask them, what does a director of business development do?
It would be just as different.
Many of them won't know. Many of them will take a guess or have different guesses. So I got to give the 5th graders, can't give them too much of a hard time here, but the way I encapsulated it for them, I said, I build relationships in order to create opportunities for my company to build things.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good summary now.
Yeah.
Again, that building relationships part, there's a whole lot of parts to that.
Yeah, I think business development, you said it means different things to different people.
Mm-hmm.
Some organizations, business development could be sales. Some of that could be marketing.
Right.
For me, and I think business development encapsulates all the different things, processes, procedures in an organization that push you towards growth.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good summary, actually.
And I think that you do a great job of this, but I think that it is hard to kind of pinpoint exactly what it is, because some of those things might be tangible, some of them might not be tangible.
Yeah.
The relationship building and how are you doing in relationship building? It's not a tangible. I have this many relationships.
Hard to measure. I mean, you can to some degree track that, and we do, but and what level are they all at?
Yeah.
Would they say that we're in a relationship?
Yeah.
Maybe.
So with that kind of being said, what's the biggest challenge that you see, day to day?
Yeah. Well, and I'm going to just follow up before I answer that. I found it interesting. I learned as well that part of business development is client experience. Yeah. And if client experience is going poorly or going well, like I love when I have chances to let our people know, hey, our clients are thrilled, or you did a great job, or do a social media post highlighting a superintendent, that was really well liked by the owner of the company that built the project. But it's also then, how do we get better at serving our clients? What are we doing poorly? What could we do better? And so there's HR and hiring aspects that come into that too. That whole pointing the company towards growth. Yeah. I feel like I've learned more about HR in my business development role than I ever realized I would. Yeah. So anyhow, the biggest challenge. Sorry for that little rabbit trail.
No, it was good.
Well, there's a lot of challenges that I do run into. Probably the biggest for me is being patient. Yeah. Because I realized, and it's interesting, I said I'm almost at 4 years, just honestly in this last year with Ames, is where I've really seen a lot of fruit and opportunities arise from 3 years of work. Yeah. You plant a seed, you're doing, for me, some marketing, but you maybe make a connection with someone. Yep. Just got an email just last week again from a company that they have an opportunity for us. They'd like us to bid. And I haven't talked to them in a while. Yeah. And it didn't seem like that great of a connection when I made it. Yeah. But we were on their radar. And so it's that being patient, realizing, okay, I'm planting seeds. Yeah. And some are going to pop up, some aren't, and you can't always predict that. Yeah. That's very good. It's exciting, but you have to learn to know that that's a hard thing to measure, and opportunities are going to come at inopportune times or not when you expect them. And it's not this totally predictable result. Yeah, really good. That's patience, the biggest obstacle because stuff that you worked on years ago just coming to fruition now. Yeah. And that happens. Yeah. I mean that happens a lot. I mean I can speak to that. That's definitely happened with us. But even early on when I was just a sales guy, that would happen. You had a connection or a touch point here, and then you're like, well, it was like a year and a half ago. Yeah. And it just pops up. So that's a good word. I want to go back to something that you touched on previously, and it's something that we have kind of experienced, or the new trend is when you're talking about measuring success of business development. So much of the consumer buying or purchasing has changed. A lot of times it was maybe price or something on how the consumer would buy or purchase. But nowadays it's off of experience, customer experience. And then I saw something related to social media, specifically on YouTube. They would measure off of views or like click-throughs. But now it's measured off of satisfaction. and really? How do you measure that? I'm thinking, but it's so true. The customer experience or the happy, satisfied customer is more of the purchaser. So I just thought it's so funny how the consumer
changes or the goals change almost. And so maybe that'll lead to my next question. How has technology maybe changed some of what you do from a business development standpoint, either from communication or you can, start to jump over if you wanted to even touch about from a marketing standpoint, because you kind of wear both those hats.
With having come through COVID, the world has become much more used to video conferencing, and boy, I'm having a mental block here.
All your
virtual
Microsoft
meetings.
Teams.
That's been really positive for what I do, because we it's not uncommon for either me to have a Zoom meeting with someone, a potential client, or someone else we're working with, or someone that wants us to hire them to do something. It's helped to make things more efficient, and yet there is something really valuable about that video connection as opposed to just a phone call.
Yeah.
Or we'll do that in our conference room where again, we're talking. We just had a couple of days ago a meeting with someone who's looking to build a new grocery store, and it's a developer who hasn't done that before. And so there were 3 of them and a couple of us in our conference room, and we could have that meeting very easily. You still at some point need to meet together in person. That's a big deal to get to know people, but you can build those relationships from far away. We have a company we're built a bunch of car washes for, and we're going to build more. Who we again initially they're out of Utah. We initially met them via Zoom. Technology beyond that, just on the marketing side of things, there's so many avenues and so many things you can do with social media that it's a little mind-boggling actually. But there's a lot of ways to get the word out, which is good and bad, because it's hard to get someone's attention because there are just so many things out there. I'm not the world's greatest technology guru, but I use it where I can.
So we've covered this a little bit, but we've talked a lot about business development and relationships and together. How do relationships affect business development?
Oh, it's what I do. It's getting to know people. It's making those connections. Sometimes it's a little hard because I make those connections, and again, it's not sales. I'm not signing contracts with people. I'm giving our company opportunities, and so in a sense, they're now turned over to for what I do, to our estimating department. And then assuming they sign a deal, now they're turned over to our construction management, and our operations. And so I try to facilitate those relationships too. And it's interesting because I love it. Sometimes people give me a hard time. One of my bosses will say something. Oh, I'm doing Phil's job again, because he made a call or he made a connection with someone and is patting himself in the back. But I love that. I love that I actually am trying to build that mindset within our company. And thankfully, it's not a big deal to our owners. I love to get the credit for making a connection, sure. But if someone comes to me and says, here's an opportunity, it's not uncommon for me to say, well, you know what, you have the relationship or a little bit of one. Maybe it's best if you reached out and try to make that happen, the best way where people feel comfortable. I'm telling you, at every level, and it's an old saying, but people do buy from people. There's obviously more factors, but the relationship is a huge one.
You can't kind of dissect it, or they're so ingrained.
They really are.
It's probably more of a people thing than anything else. To be able to have that team, that team mentality at Ames, that you're able to, doesn't matter who it is, you're able to work together to push that towards, whatever the goal is, to push to, more customers, clients, all that kind of stuff.
And it's hard, again, one of those things that's hard to measure. We may have clients, there's so many things where I had a piece in it, but I wasn't maybe the initial contact, but I helped to nurture that or help to push someone to it. It's a team effort and a team mindset. I've been becoming, since I'm almost 4 years with Ames now, I'm becoming more bold, if you will, as far as just putting things out to the team. Saying, things about communicating, things about, so that they have that mindset of you're always selling, if you will, but you're always projecting to Ames. You're always putting forth, people are watching you, and you have an opportunity to help bring in work. and this is even back to my Eby Exteriors days, is when you know a client, you just know it. The choice they made probably isn't going to work for them.
Yep.
And no one's going to win.
Yep.
That company came in with a lowball number that they're not going to stick to. Nobody's going to win. Yep. And that's probably the hardest one to stomach. Yeah. It's, you lose to good competition sometimes, and hey, business is business, but it's a matter of up on to the next one.
I think about it, and rejection can be like the worst.
Yeah.
And it can eat me up, and it's kind of similar to what you shared, where you're not going to get the best for everyone by going with a lesser product company, et cetera.
Yeah.
And I think about that, like, man, don't they know what we could offer?
Right.
Like, man, if they just knew.
Yeah.
But I do think, and I don't want to over spiritualize, but man, I go to the Lord has the plan for you.
Yeah.
And I mean, I believe that's with wins when it comes to business. Mm-hmm. And he's the one opening and closing doors.
Yeah.
And if it's not, it's because there's something better ahead.
Yeah,
and that's
good.
That's the mindset I got to keep, because
that's a good attitude.
Man, you have a lot of closed doors. It can weigh on you if you don't have a hard shell to kind of keep pushing on.
And you don't want to use that as a cop out.
Yeah.
You want to be working. What could have I done?
Yep.
What maybe they don't know what I can offer because I didn't communicate it properly.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it's okay. God, where do we go next?
Yeah.
One other thing that I think is critical that really helps me enjoy my job is no company is perfect.
Yeah.
And I get that. And every company has areas to grow. But one thing that I like about working for Ames, we have 3 owners who are actively involved in the business. They're people that are people of faith and people that care about doing right by their customers.
Yeah.
Again, we're not perfect, and I see that in our team. Like our team wants to deliver a good project, and our slogan, on time, on budget, built right. It's what our people want, and we really are committed to delivering that. And we work hard to do so.
Yeah.
And that makes it fun and easy for me to promote that.
Yep.
I can do that with integrity.
Yep.
So, if you can't do that with integrity where you're working, I would struggle with that.
It's tough going in every day.
Yeah, well, I don't want to go in and be putting something out there that's false about who we really are.
Yeah.
And I can do that with integrity at Ames, and that's I can sleep well doing that.
No, and we can affirm that.
Yeah.
Working with Ames, working with you, it's been a blessing for us to be able to come alongside and work with Ames Construction and now Ames Mechanical. But it's true. We're just in there for a shoot for you guys, and the company lives and breathes the core values because it's modeled from the top down.
Yeah.
Owners that care.
Yeah.
Owners that care about the employees, they care about the product, and they care about the clients/customers. So it breeds a good, healthy culture.
Yeah.
And Ames has that.
Well, good. I appreciate you saying that. And I will say, Steve, working with LifeStages, you've been a big help to me as I've grown into that role and just helped. It's great for us to have that outside viewpoint. Yeah. Someone that's, bringing thoughts and looking at us differently than we are from inside. And so helping us to process things we should or could do to promote Ames. It's just been valuable, the work that you've done for us and what you do for us on a practical level with just some of the practical things you do with video and photography and social media, but then also just on the processing level. It's been really good. So I appreciate your help.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I really do.
Yeah.
But Phil Eby, really appreciate your time. Thanks for another episode of the LifeStages Development Podcast. We'll see you in the next one.
Thank you for listening to the LifeStages Development Podcast. Follow us on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And check out our website, lifestagesdevelopment.com, for ways to work together.